Good morning, everyone. I have some new Walmart stories for you guys to listen to, and I hope you guys enjoy. If you do, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Would love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for your time and enjoy. So I worked at Walmart 6 years ago when I was in college. My college schedule was terrible, having classes scattered throughout the day, so finding a job with hours I could consistently work was hard. The Walmart by my campus was open 24 hours, and was hiring for the overnight cashier position. Overnight was the only time I knew I could always work and not have to worry about missing classes. So I took the interview and the job, and for a while it was going well. It was surprisingly busy throughout the night, but it made time go by faster. I was almost always the only cashier working, so I didn't have any coworkers to talk to, unless one of the warehouse guys walked by. After a few months of working, I started to notice the same routine customers coming in. There was this one man in particular that always came around 2 a.m. and would buy random items every time he would buy clothes of various sizes and genders, random food toys, tools, and a bunch of other assorted things. He always came alone, though he wasn't much of a talker and was very reserved, just checking out and leaving without saying anything. With nothing better to do, I'd always think about what the guy was up to. I never really thought he was actually up to anything, but my mind would wander sometimes. But then, one night at 2 a.m., like usual, the man came into my checkout lane, and to my surprise, he started talking to me. He asked how my night was going, and if I had any plans for the weekend. I kept up with the small talk, but was still shocked that he was even talking. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he was definitely on something. He looked extremely tired, and his hair was greasy and unkempt, but his eyes were wide open. He paid for his stuff, then thanked me, and left. I let my mind wander again, thinking about what the sudden change was. The rest of the night was really slow, dragging on until 6 a.m., when I finally clocked out. The parking lot was mostly empty, and the sun was just starting to rise. As I walked to my car, I saw someone was parked next to me, with their car on. I got closer, and when I was just a few feet away, a man got out. It was the strange guy that had come in at 2 a.m., which was 4 hours ago. He smiled, looking even more tired than he did earlier. I said hi, and walked around to the other side of my car, trying to act normal. But he followed me around to my driver's side door. I told him I had to go home, but that I would see him tomorrow. He didn't say anything, but just continued smiling and staring. I opened my door and started to get in, but the guy suddenly grabbed my arm, holding me tight. I looked back at him, and his smile was gone. He forced me out of my car and started pulling me toward his car. I was yelling and fighting back, not letting him pull me more than a few feet. Before I pushed him down, I hurried inside my car and drove away, checking my mirrors to make sure he didn't follow. I didn't see him, but just in case, I didn't go home, and instead parked at a McDonald's and called the police. After they interviewed me and got the case written down, they started to investigate. They had some footage on the CCTV in the store and in the parking lot. I was hopeful, but after a few weeks, they still didn't have an identity. I continued working and never saw that man again. It makes me sick thinking about all the stuff he was buying, like clothes of different sizes that I know are probably for other victims he had taken. I'm lucky to have gotten away, but I still feel terrible. Part of me was really hoping he'd come back though, so I could attempt to stop him from getting away. Eventually COVID happened and the Walmart stopped doing 24 hours, so I lost my job anyway. It's been 6 years, but I hope he got caught somehow, or does soon. So I'm a single dad, balancing 2 jobs and 2 kids. Things got a lot easier when my eldest son got old enough to watch after my youngest. But working all day makes everything a pain. Anyway, I got home from my second shift around 10 p.m. But tomorrow, I had another full day of work, and I knew I didn't have anything for them to eat while I was gone. So I had to make a quick trip to Walmart. They were the only store around that was open until 11, so I got there just before 10:30. I hated to be that customer that walked in right before closing, but I didn't have much of a choice. So I went straight over to the grocery section and looked around for some frozen meals for the kids. But after a minute, I realized there was someone watching me. It was this creepy looking man standing on the other side of the aisle. Every time I'd look at him, he would look away playing dumb, but it was super obvious he was staring at me. So I grabbed a couple of boxes and went down to the next aisle. But the man followed. I looked back at him and watched as he pretended to look around, occasionally, checking if I was still looking at him. He seemed to be in his late 40s, but it was hard to tell because he was wearing a heavy jacket and a hat. "You good?" I said, hoping he'd get the hint to leave me alone. He immediately walked away, not even looking at me again. So I thought to myself, he was just some random strange Walmart customer that you always seem to hear about, and I tried not to think about it anymore. I picked up a box of cereal and some milk, then headed to the self-checkout lane. I kept my eyes open for that man, but he wasn't around anymore. I guess that really did scare him off. I scanned everything and paid, then walked out. It was dark and the parking lot wasn't very well lit, but from far away, I could tell something was off about my car. Walking up to it, there were scratches and dents all over it, and 2 of the windows were shattered. I was in shock. Then I heard footsteps coming up quickly behind me. I turned, seeing 2 men rushing at me, one holding some sort of metal pipe in his hand. I tried getting my keys out and getting in my car, but I realized I was taking too long and took off running instead. I ran straight back to the store, and I heard their footsteps stop after a short chase. I watched by the front entrance as they beat in my car some more, then got in a nearby truck and drove away. I, of course, called 911, and they helped me with my car and giving me a ride home, but nothing could be done about it at first. A month later, though, the same thing happened to someone else at a different Walmart a few miles away. The man who got attacked was armed and managed to detain one of them, and this eventually led to both men being arrested. One of them I recognized as the man I'd seen looking at me in the store, but I didn't know who the other one was. Neither gave any reasons worth noting as to why they did it. There's just some sick people out there, but I'm glad these 2 won't be around anymore. When I was in my early 20s, I went to Walmart for a grocery haul. I walk in, get me some McDonald's before I go shopping, because we all know you can't go grocery shopping hungry. I smash my 2 McChickens, then go about shopping. So 15 or so minutes later, I got what was coming to me, some intolerable stomach pains and a bathroom trip brewing. So I run to the bathroom in a panic, close the stall, and let the storm happen. There's just one other person in the bathroom with me, in the stall to my left, the handicap stall, by the shoes. I'm thinking it's a little girl. So as I'm going about my business, looking down at my phone to pass the time, all of a sudden, I see something in the upper corner of my eye. It was a phone on top of the stall door, in front of me. Not the handicap stall, with the camera facing me. There was a hand holding the phone. There was someone recording me doing my business. The whole thing went by so quickly, but I was an incredibly vulnerable position, as you can imagine, and all I could think to do was scream, "What the fuck are you doing?" The person immediately runs off, and I hear the little girl in the stall beside me jump off of the toilet and run away. By the time I could wipe my ass and run out of the bathrooms, obviously whoever was recording me was gone. So I'm completely mortified, and I asked for one of the managers and tell them what happened. They were not concerned that someone was straight up recording me in the bathroom, with my pants down and legs wide open for God knows how long. I tell them to please look at the cameras, because I feel completely violated, and I'm concerned for my safety. Within 10 minutes, they return and say that a little girl ran out of the bathroom shortly before me, and that it was probably her just joking around, getting pictures of people in the restroom. I argued with them and said I know it wasn't that little girl, because she was in the stall next to me, and she ran out after I yelled. They were adamant that's who it was, because no one else went in before or after me. I never escalated it further with the Walmart manager. Looking back, I was gaslighted into thinking he was just some dumb kid. But the next few days, when I thought about it, that is not possible. I came to the conclusion that there's a nasty, peeping pervert hiding in the supply closet or something in the bathrooms, taking videos of vulnerable women doing their business. I've been convinced all of these years that I'm probably out there on some website on the dark web, somewhere for people who have these fetishes. Not long before the particular incident, I was followed by a car out of Walmart and nearly made it to my house before I realized. I drove around to make sure it wasn't actually following me, and they definitely were. I got rid of them because I drove to a gas station and screamed, "This person is following me, please call the police." Once they heard what I was doing, they drove away. Never got a look at him or her, unfortunately. I did not file a police report either. I can't help but wonder if this was the same person that took video of me in the bathroom. Needless to say, I haven't been back to Walmart since. Okay, so I want to start this off by saying I'm posting about this just because I want to vent about what happened yesterday, because I'm still freaked out. So this all started because my mom needed a few things from Walmart, and I was going there anyways. So I decided to save her the trouble and get them for her. I get what I need and I check out. I walk outside and realized I parked on the other side of the store, so I started walking. I had an uneasy feeling, but I pushed it away by saying it was just my social anxiety kicking in. Okay, so I get to the row I'm parked on, and I'm closing in on my car when I noticed these two guys walking behind me. I thought nothing of it, because Walmart was packed when I went, so I just ignored them, until I realized they weren't stopping. They were following me all the way back to my car. To put it in perspective, I parked on the very end away from everyone else, so I wouldn't get my car door smacked in. They stopped a few feet from the spot beside me and watched me get in my car. They had to be about late 20s, early 30s. They stood there for a minute, but walked away when they saw me pull out my phone. I called my dad, shaking and explaining everything to him. He stayed on the phone with me until I calmed down enough to drive home. And you might be saying, well, that's not that bad. But it gets worse. I'm still on the phone with my dad, trying to calm down, when I noticed they came back. But this time, they're in their car. They slowly drive by my car, and the one in the passenger seat looks at me with a creepy smile and waves at me in a flirty way, and then they drove away. Let's just say, I didn't leave that parking lot for a long time. Side note, I was so shaken up, I forgot to pay attention to the road and almost crashed into a car that was speeding in the parking lot. Also, I knew the men knew I was 16 to 18 because I have a school parking pass behind my rear view mirror. Thank you all for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories, and I love hearing from you guys, so feel free to comment in the section. I would love to talk to you guys. And as always, stay depraved.